Welcome back, Sip&Talkers. So I have to tell you about our mutual friend Mickey, because he is currently fully convinced that he's infected with some kind of alien parasite.
Oh, man. Let me guess. He fell down another one of those late-night short video algorithm rabbit holes.
Way worse, actually. So he met up with an online friend recently, just a totally normal coffee catch-up, right? And this friend happens to own a cat.
Okay. Sounds completely normal so far.
Right. So they chat, they shake hands goodbye. Later that day, Mickey is at his desk coding, casually touches his chin, and by the next morning, his chin is bright red, incredibly itchy, and completely irritated.
Wow. And I bet his social feed just sensed his fear, right?
Exactly. Our algorithms are basically weaponized to sense anxiety. So his feed immediately flooded him with those viral, microscopic short videos.
Ugh, I know exactly the ones you mean.
Right. The ones where someone pets a cat, zooms in with a cheap microscope, and suddenly the screen is swarming with these terrifying microscopic worms crawling all over human skin.
I have to sigh every time I see those pop up.
He completely lost his mind. He called me in a total panic, ready to drive to the ER at 2 a.m, fully believing this casual handshake infected him with a feline worm.
Okay, as the resident fact checker here, we have to dismantle this algorithm-driven anxiety right now.
Oh.
Those videos are almost entirely unverified.
I figured. I mean, they look so fake.
They really are. They never list magnification levels and they hide the sample sources. Half the time, the creators are just showing dust mites, which, by the way, live deep in your sofa, not on cats.
Oh, right. Or aren't there mites that just live on our skin anyway?
Yeah, Demodex mites, they naturally live in human hair follicles. If you put a microscope up to literally anything in our houses, it looks like a horror movie.
So what actually happened to his face then? Because I saw the picture and it was definitely inflamed.
It was almost certainly just contact dermatitis. When he shook hands, he likely picked up trace amounts of fel-D1, which is the primary protein in cat saliva, or just some normal cat dander.
Oh, got it. So he transferred it to his face and his skin just reacted.
Exactly. And the easiest way to completely debunk the parasite theory is looking at his recovery timeline.
Because it healed way too fast, right? He used some standard over-the-counter ointment and it scabbed over and cleared up in just 3 days.
Which perfectly rules out fungal infections like ringworm or severe parasites like scabies. Those take anywhere from 4 to 14 days just to become visible on the skin.
Wait, really? It takes that long?
Yeah, and they spread outward in very distinct ring-shaped red patches. They absolutely do not miraculously vanish over a weekend with some basic moisturizer.
Well, Mickey is safe, thankfully, but seeing him go from 0 to alien invasion in 5 minutes over a cat really got me thinking.
It is a pretty wild overreaction.
Right. Like, why are we a species building quantum computers and launching rovers to Mars so quick to believe the wildest urban legends the literal second a feline is involved?
That is a great question. It really comes down to a fundamental clash between human neurobiology and feline evolution.
Okay, you're going to have to break that down for me.
So anthropologists point to a specific mechanism in our brains called the intentionality detector.
Wait, like how we constantly scan a room to read people? Like walking into a VC pitch meeting here in the Valley and instantly reading the investor's posture to see if they are buying your pitch.
That is a perfect example. We are highly social, cooperative pack animals. Our survival depended entirely on our ability to quickly and accurately read social cues, micro-expressions, and body language.
So we're basically hardwired to figure out someone's motives.
Exactly. And when we interact with dogs, our intentionality detector works flawlessly because dogs are essentially an open book.
I always think of dogs as W-2 employees, you know?
Yeah.
They clock in, they want clear instructions from the boss, and their motives are totally transparent.
Yes. They wag their whole bodies when they're happy, they bare their teeth when angry. But cats are solitary predators. They don't have that pack mentality.
So they never evolved those massive, exaggerated social signals.
Right. Instead, they communicate through micro-expressions that our human brains simply are not equipped to decode. An unblinking stare, a millimeter twitch of an ear, a tiny flick of the very tip of the tail.
And since our brains absolutely hate a cognitive vacuum, our intentionality detector basically short circuits.
Exactly. We look at the cat, we know it is thinking something, but we can't crack the code. So we experience this subtle anxiety.
And to fix that anxiety, we just invent a supernatural story to fill the gap.
That is the exact mechanism. We project magic onto them to make sense of the illegible data.
That explains so much. Like, okay, take the classic myth that cats can see ghosts. You see a cat freeze, stare into a dark, empty corner of the room, and puff up.
And we instantly think it's a poltergeist.
Right. But really, it's just superior hardware, right? Like, scientific journals note that a cat's hearing maxes out around 64,000 hertz compared to our 20,000.
Exactly. So they aren't staring at ghosts. They're actively listening to termites chewing wood inside the drywall or the ultrasonic hum of your refrigerator.
Oh, wow. Plus, don't they have night vision that is like 6 to 8 times stronger than ours?
They do. So they're reacting to physical stimuli that are completely invisible and inaudible to us.
Okay, so superior senses explain the ghost thing. But what about the darker stuff? I'm thinking of Oscar, that famous therapy cat in the nursing home.
Oh, the one where people swore he was the Grim Reaper.
Yes, because he would curl up next to patients just hours before they passed away. It creeped everyone out.
Well, that one is purely biochemical. When human organs begin to fail and shut down, the body releases specific volatile biochemicals, particularly certain ketones.
And cats can smell that.
Yeah, they possess a remarkably acute sense of smell and can easily detect those chemical changes. Plus, terminally ill patients often have fluctuating body temperatures or are given heated blankets.
Oh, and cats are always seeking out heat sources. So Oscar wasn't predicting the future. He was just following a biochemical scent trail to a warm bed.
Exactly, which honestly totally debunks that centuries-old myth about cats sucking a baby's breath away in the middle of the night.
Oh, right. They just want the intense body heat the infant generates and the biological smell of milk.
You nailed it. It is all biology. Even the cultural projections, like black cats being considered unlucky in medieval Europe, but incredibly lucky in the UK and Japan.
It's just a genetic expression called melanism, right? It simply provides excellent camouflage for night hunting. There is no magic involved.
None at all. It is funny how we project all this malice onto them. Even today, you hear people insist that pregnant women must immediately get rid of their cats.
Probably because of toxoplasmosis.
Right, which is a vast misunderstanding of medical risk. The Toxoplasma gondii parasite is a real concern, but the risk primarily comes from handling raw meat or outdoor cats that actively hunt infected rodents.
So if you have a strictly indoor cat that eats commercial food, the risk is incredibly low.
Exactly. The standard medical advice isn't to evict the cat. You just have someone else in the household change the litter box.
Okay, so we project all this magic onto them because we can't tune into their biological frequency. But looking at how they actually operate in our homes, I'm going to float a theory here.
All right, let's hear it.
If dogs are the W-2 employees who went through HR and signed a strict behavioral contract during domestication, cats feel like high-level independent consultants.
Oh, I like this analogy.
Right. They walked in, took massive equity in the company, refused to clock in, and basically treat us as large, hairless, automatic grain and meat dispensers. It honestly feels like they domesticated us.
Well, that isn't just a fun theory. It is basically the scientific consensus in modern evolutionary biology.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Think about dogs. Humans forcibly domesticated wolves up to 30,000 years ago. We captured them and used brutal artificial selection to breed out aggression and genetically engineer them to serve us.
But we didn't do that with cats, because they descend from the African wildcat, Felis libica. And didn't they self-domesticate about 9,000 years ago in the Fertile Crescent?
They did. Humans invented agriculture, we started hoarding grain, and that grain attracted massive populations of mice.
Ah, so the cat simply walked out of the desert and moved in.
Exactly. It is an ecological concept called commensalism. They didn't alter their core genetics to serve us, and they certainly didn't learn to herd our sheep. They just decided to tolerate our presence for the all-you-can-eat mouse buffet.
But they didn't just passively live near us. They had to figure out how to manipulate us to get that premium indoor treatment. I was reading this University of Sussex behavioral study on feline vocalizations.
Oh, the one about meowing.
Yes, because adult cats in the wild rarely meow at each other. They hiss or yowl. So the standard meow is basically a UI interface they developed specifically for humans.
It is a highly optimized interface. That Sussex study looked very closely at a specific vocalization cats use when begging for food called a solicitation purr.
Right, and the researchers isolated the audio frequencies and found that cats actually embed a high-frequency cry directly into the middle of that purr.
Sitting perfectly between 300 and 600 hertz. Let me guess, that specific acoustic range isn't random.
It is not. It perfectly matches the acoustic frequency of a crying human infant.
You have got to be kidding me. They reverse engineered the sound of a human baby.
It is an absolute masterclass in sensory exploitation. Human brains are hardwired by millions of years of evolution to be neurologically incapable of ignoring a baby's cry.
Wow, so it triggers an immediate, anxious, nurturing response.
Exactly. The cat is essentially hacking our auditory cortex. They broadcast a signal that hijacks our innate parental instincts, making it practically impossible for us to not stop what we are doing and feed them.
Hacking our auditory cortex is wild, but a clever vocal cord adaptation is still just behavioral. Earlier you mentioned Toxoplasma gondii, the parasite.
Yeah, the one everyone freaks out about.
Right. And this is where I struggle. I have a hard time believing a single-celled organism can literally hotwire a complex mammalian brain. It sounds like a B-movie sci-fi plot.
I know it sounds ridiculous, but neurobiologist Robert Sapolsky brilliantly documented the actual mechanism.
How does it even work?
So Toxoplasma gondii has a very specific life cycle requirement. It can only sexually reproduce inside the intestines of a feline. To get there, it infects the intermediate hosts like rats and physically rewires their neural pathways to ensure they get eaten by a cat.
How does it pull that off? I mean, a normal rat smells cat urine, its amygdala lights up with fear, and it runs for its life. That's just survival 101.
Right, but Sapolsky used CFOS gene testing to map the neural activity of the infected rats, and he found that the parasite physically short-circuits the amygdala.
Wait, it just bypasses the fear circuit entirely?
Entirely. And it routes the sensory input from the smell of cat urine directly into the rat's sexual arousal pathways.
Oh my God.
The rat experiences what Sapolsky calls fatal attraction. It is literally drawn to the scent of its predator, effectively delivering itself into the cat's mouth.
Okay, that is terrifying for a rat. But we are humans. We have massive frontal lobes and complex rational thought. A microscopic parasite cannot possibly override that.
Well, the global epidemiological data strongly suggests otherwise. It is estimated that approximately 1/3 of the global human population is currently infected with Toxoplasma gondii.
A third of the population.
Yeah, and genetic analysis reveals the parasite carries a very specific gene. It creates an enzyme called tyrosine hydroxylase.
Wait, tyrosine hydroxylase, isn't that the critical precursor enzyme for synthesizing dopamine?
It is. The parasite crosses the blood-brain barrier and sets up a dopamine production factory right in the human limbic system.
You're kidding.
Nope. Studies show it can boost baseline dopamine levels in infected neural pathways by an astonishing 114%.
114% spike. Dopamine is our primary reward molecule. It drives motivation, pleasure, addiction. If you flood the emotional control center with that much dopamine, you are fundamentally altering human behavior.
Absolutely.
Are there actual studies showing how this plays out in people?
Heavily documented ones. For instance, researcher Jaroslav Flaig ran double-blind tests where humans smelled highly diluted cat urine.
And what happened?
The infected humans consistently rated the smell as pleasant, while uninfected people found it repulsive. It actively alters our olfactory preferences.
That is insane.
And there's a brand new preprint study published on Biorepuv just recently, March 2026, by Kim Valenta. It tracked human behavior and found that infected individuals dedicate significantly more of their time actively interacting with cats compared to uninfected people.
So the parasite generates a massive dopamine reward to keep us hanging around its primary host. But surely, constantly flooding the brain with dopamine has to severely mess with our risk assessment, right? Just like the rats losing their fear.
That is where the data gets genuinely concerning. Infected individuals have a dramatically altered risk profile. Global studies show people who test positive for toxoplasma have a 2.05 to 2.65 times higher risk of being involved in major traffic accidents.
Wait, what? Because their reaction times and risk aversion just plummet.
Exactly.
Hold on a minute. If it suppresses fear and lowers risk aversion, what about financial risks?
Oh, you'll love this. A massive Danish study analyzing thousands of individuals found that women and university students infected with toxoplasma were 1.8 times more likely to take the massive financial and career risk of starting their own business.
Wait, are you telling me the entire Silicon Valley startup ecosystem, the whole move fast, break things, take wild risks culture, might be partially fueled by a cat parasite?
I mean, it is a very striking correlation in the data. But tampering with neurotransmitters over the long term has a darker side, too.
I can imagine.
Yeah, a June 2026 meta-analysis synthesized data globally and linked childhood cat ownership and toxoplasma exposure to a statistically higher risk of developing schizophrenia later in life. Decades of dopamine interference can cause the psychological architecture to fracture.
Let's pull all this together, because my worldview is officially shattered right now.
It's a lot to take in.
We started with Mickey panicking over fake internet worms, and we uncovered the greatest evolutionary hustle in history. Cats didn't change their genetics to serve us. They simply walked into our agricultural settlements.
They just moved in.
Right. They reverse-engineered the exact acoustic frequency of a crying baby to hack our ears. And they carry a parasite that infects a third of humanity, spiking our dopamine by 114% to make us love them and lower our fear of risk.
It's brilliant.
They really are just an alien parasite civilization wearing very soft fur.
From a macroecological perspective, they unequivocally won the evolutionary negotiation. I mean, think about it. Their ancestor, the African wildcat, is currently marginalized and struggling in its natural habitat.
And house cats.
Meanwhile, there are over 600 million house cats globally. They live in absolute luxury on every continent except Antarctica, receiving premium healthcare and climate-controlled housing without having to work a single day in their lives.
Okay, now before anyone listening decides to evict their cat, we should be perfectly clear that we are looking at this purely through the lens of objective ecology and biology.
Absolutely. There is no judgment or discrimination toward any group or pet owners here. Toxoplasmosis risks are easily mitigated with basic hygiene. Simply wash your hands after cleaning the litter box and keep your cats indoors.
The real lesson here is about independent thinking. We are navigating a world overflowing with algorithm-driven myths designed purely to spike your anxiety.
Just like Mickey's feed.
Exactly. When you see a terrifying short video, take a breath, look for the actual data, and question your assumptions.
Understanding the actual biological mechanisms behind the mystery is always more empowering than falling for the urban legend.
So well said. Sip&Talkers, if you want to see a human whose dopamine system is working perfectly and driving them to take fun, completely non-parasite-induced risks, you have got to check out Mickey's new travel vlogs on his YouTube channel, Mickey to Life.
Yes, his latest videos are out now. They're incredibly fun and honestly the perfect way to decompress after learning about brain-altering parasites. Highly recommended.
Go give Mickey some love, and make sure you hit subscribe on the Sip&Talk feed so you don't miss our next exploration into the hidden forces shaping our world.
And we'll leave you with this final thought to mull over with your coffee tomorrow morning.
Right. If a 9-pound furball figured out how to biohack the human brain 9,000 years ago just to get a free meal,
what other species on this planet are currently quietly figuring out our biological source code?
Such a wild thought. We'll see you next time, Sip&Talkers.